Okay, it's 12 cameras on.
Anyway, so,
Okay, 12 o'clock, the meeting has been called to order. Roll call, please.
Okay. Bill Jenks,
Here.
Fred Mogul,
Here.
Ron Stanko,
here.
Fred Levering will be absent, and Keith Durr.
Here. Are there any public comments?
Yes,
Mr. Jade?
how are you?
Lovely.
So, yes, thank you. Dear Fire and Police Committee members, my name is Adrian Jadic. I'm resident of Cardinal Road, where I live with my neighbor Greg Protoyarski. I'm writing to bring to your attention an issue we have been experiencing regarding parking on our street, and to kindly express the resolution that promotes safety, access, and fairness within our community. In August 2019, we requested the Borough engineer to conduct a study on the feasibility of a no parking zone at the top of the hill on Cardinal Road. The main reason for this request was the persistent parking inconvenience caused by another neighbor who, despite having ample parking space available at his property, chose to park his vehicles close to our driveway entrances, those obstructing access, blocking, snow removal, you name it, hikers. Although this parking behavior is technically legal, it serves no legitimate purpose while creating a significant hindrance for us. We have noted, and note here, not only for us, potential blocking of emergency vehicles, like I said, public works vehicles, and so forth. And on that, I sent, previously, I think, what was it, a week ago, I sent Michelle's and the chief some videos exemplifying that. There are pictures, there are security camera videos. I mean, the documentation is plentiful. We can submit whatever you want. I think just those two little videos that Greg filmed were enough to show what this is about. Additionally, Mr. Cullen does not ride a motorcycle. He can't ride a motorcycle. Every time he rides a motorcycle, he rides it with his legs out because he's afraid of falling. It's not his thing. Cars are his things, not motorcycles. The reason he bought the motorcycle was just because it fits in between my driveways over there. A car would not fit there. Anyway, going back to our request. We have noted that this neighbor selectively parks his vehicles in such a way primarily in front of the houses of residents who, like us, are first-generation immigrants from Eastern Europe, a practice we view as discriminatory. In the study conducted by the Borough engineer, which I'm attaching right here, is clearly recommended to restrict parking on both sides of Cardinal Road in the area specified on the attached map exhibit. One of the key findings of the study was, based on our analysis of this roadway geometric configuration, we are, and this is quote, of the opinion that parking on the street in the curved section of Cardinal Road creates an unsafe situation for maneuvering of any oversized vehicles, especially a fire apparatus. For about 3 years, there was a respite from this issue. However, over the last 2 weeks, the issue has resurfaced. This time, the neighbor has started to park a motorcycle, like I said, in the narrow space between our driveways, continuing the pattern of obstruction and harassment. Considering the safety implications and unnecessary obstruction created by this parking behavior, I urge the committee to reconsider the recommendations made by the Borough engineers, study, and implement the proposed no parking zone at the top of hill on Cardinal Road. This will help ensure clear access for residents and emergency vehicles, while also promoting respect and fairness within our community. Thank you for your time, consideration. I trust your commitment in maintaining the safety and well-being of all residents. I will submit just this because this needs some edits based on what I actually said. I'll email it to Melissa or Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jake. Just one question I have for you.
Yes, sir.
Since the last study was performed, have you witnessed a substantial increase in traffic on Cardinal?
I have submitted an example of a situation. Like I said, we do not need to have 20 cars. We need once an obstruction of an emergency vehicle or something.
Well, we
I
know
don't need to have
emergency
3
vehicles
heart
here.
attacks
Okay.
to be obstructed.
That's just my question. Okay, thank you. We'll take it under advisement. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to fire department. Oh,
Good afternoon. Excuse me. For the month of June, there have been 126 responses consisting of 22 fires, 27 motor vehicle accidents, 26 QRS medical responses, 20 hazardous conditions, 30 alarm activations, and 1 fire police call. Total responses in the borough 80, in Spring Township 23, and outside the borough 23. 67 overlapping calls. Fire damage for the month of June to date is $136,500. Saved property for the month of June is $3,373,750. We had a plethora of incidents. In the beginning, June 1st, there was a small fire on Margaret Drive. June 2nd, we actually had the kitchen fire at 415 Woodside Avenue with extension to 417 Woodside Avenue. Vehicle fire on 6-3 on State Hill Road, and then we had the small building fire at Olive Garden, 1700 Crossings Drive. Average turnout per incident for June, 4.6 personnel. We had 23 volunteer responses and a total of 889 responses to date. For the expanded report for May, there was 320 responses system-wide. Out of those, Wyomissing responded to 170. The fire damage for the month of May was all in Spring Township. We gave aid 62 times. We received aid 56 times. We had 138 overlapping calls. 52 were between Spring and Wyomissing, 29 Wyomissing alone, and 57 with Spring. Our average dispatch turnaround time was 1 minute 46 seconds. Dispatched on scene 6 minutes 26 seconds, and our average on scene time was 18 minutes and 12 seconds. There was no Narcan administration for the month of May. Our busiest day of the week was Tuesday with 57 incidents, and the busiest hour of the day was 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. with 33 incidents. A question was raised at the council meeting as to how we come up with the average response. So at the end of my report, I'll point it out, but I'm not going to actually go over the whole thing unless you want me to. So at the end of the expanded report is the whole month of responses, and it breaks down how many personnel were on each incident. So that could be based off of if it was a single unit response, that would be 3 people. If it was Spring and Wyomissing at the same time, that would be 6 guaranteed. Fire, police would add up to that, any volunteers, or myself, Rick, or Troy, or any of those people. So it lists that out, so then it takes that, the system itself takes all those numbers for the month, and then it averages out to, that's where you come up with that 4.6. Or whatever it may be. It was 4.6 for, I believe, for the month of May. That's all I have for reports. I have, 2 additional items, just for informational anyway.
okay, before we get to the information thing, status of Engine 79.
Engine 79, the fuel tank was supposedly shipped on the 25th of June. So hopefully, Derek was going to be calling in today. As soon as it gets there, hopefully it gets in, and then we're going to transition trucks. We're going to put Engine 79 in service, and then the ladder's going to go up for its annual maintenance and service and everything. It's yearly service.
Okay.
So now the good thing is, majority of ladders under warranty, because we got the 7-year extended warranty with that. I know there's a couple oil leaks, but other than that, I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. So I would envision that's going to be, and that's running a lot of calls. I mean, that's running every single call that, so you're looking at probably going to be 1,400 calls for a year, and that's running every one of the calls. So knock on wood, everything's holding strong, but I'd envision that's probably going to be a couple weeks, probably 2 to 3 weeks, because I'd imagine the warranty of the oil is going to have to be done by a Cummins dealer. And then Click Fire Equipment will do the annual servicing, inspection, pump testing, aerial, and that stuff.
Where do we stand as far as when's Engine 79 going to need to be replaced?
Well, that's something that we're going to look at. there's a couple of things that we projected out. Our goal would be to potentially get another aerial device. That way we would have the 2 aerial devices in there. So at that point, we can either trade in engine 79 on the new aerial device. That way we would have a reserve aerial and an inline aerial. We would still maintain our 2 pieces with our pumping capacities and our water capacities, which would quench ISO requirements. Or we could just kind of hang on to engine 79 because realistically, it's probably only worth, I don't know, maybe 50 to 75,000 because of its age. But right now, there's a big price tag on used apparatus because the going rate for a new apparatus is basically 2 to 3 years, depending on what manufacturer you go to. The good note on that is that if you sign a contract for an apparatus, no payments due, number one, until it would actually start construction. At that point, then you can pay a percentage of it and get a prepaid discount, or you could wait till the final delivery of it and then pay the truck off at final delivery. But I've heard from 2 different manufacturers, it's about basically 24 months from the time you sign a contract until your truck's going to be delivered. And some are actually pushing it back to 3 years.
Keith, from a finance aspect, do you have any members, should they start working on this, or?
That's going to be something that we're going to try and propose for the budget for next year, that we can actually start that in the process anyway. Obviously, budgeting really won't be for 2 years. I mean, realistically, figure a year. We would sign a contract, once we would have all the specs, which realistically, we can pretty much take the current spec that we had, just modify, upgrade it to the updated pricing and everything like that.
You have any idea what you're talking about?
I'm going to say we'd probably be close to 1.9. We paid I think it was 1.2, 1.3 for the current one, but the prices have kind of jumped substantially.
We have, the only thing we have some reserve right
It's
now.
a 400 and-
400,000 that we got.
Correct. Right, so realistically, to draw up specs or something like that, we wouldn't necessarily have to go out for bid because it would be a co-star's purchase. So we could pretty much say with the vendor that we have, we could go out to bid. I mean, I don't think we'd be interested in C-grade, but one of the things that C-grade has been known for, and I just spoke to Cumru and Denver, just recently purchased Pierce, and Exeter had just bought a C-grade, and in Exeter's contract, I guess they didn't have the solicitor kind of read the fine print or whatever, and they paid for the truck or whatever, and now it's in the process of being built, and they came up and said, well, now you owe us another $125,000 because the cost went up. So Pierce specifically and E1 both have that in their contract, that it's not, I guess they're kind of planning out ahead of time. So when you're placing the order, they're kind of ordering the parts and the engine, they're figuring the prices in there. So we would definitely, any kind of a contract we sign, the solicitor would have to go over with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that there's no hidden things in there that say, well, if costs would arise, you're going to be on the hook for that.
I know we have never purchased demo apparatus. I think the time has come that we should at least explore our options about a demo unit.
That's a possibility as well too. They're not quite as plentiful as they were before, because again, they're kind of getting scarfed up very quick by cities. Because number one, you can get them pretty quick. The city just got a rescue truck that way, the city of Reading.
What's the discount for that?
It's not necessarily a discount, you're still gonna kind of pay the same price. The only thing is, it's gonna be ready today. Like, it's available today.
now.
Right, correct. And obviously, then it's not customized to the point where if we would take the same spec that we have for our ladder truck, the compartmentation spec out that we can carry, like how we wanna carry all the equipment that we actually carry. If you get a demo truck, you may have to tweak things, which, again, it's doable. There's nothing that's not doable about it, but, this is what it is, here it is, this is it. So,
Okay.
but there's really not much of a price break over that.
when you buy these used pieces of equipment, are they warranty?
No. A demo truck would potentially be under warranty, yes, but not buying a used piece of apparatus. Like if somebody would buy engine 79, I doubt that there would be the company, whoever the broker would be that would be selling that would have.
No, I'm
warranty.
referring to
Yeah.
demo, not
Yeah.
used.
A demo, I would imagine you'd still be able to get warranty for it. I mean, you would have to look at, depending on where it was taken and stuff like that, with the mileage and stuff like that, as to what the actual warranty comes with
Okay.
for the engine.
All right, thanks. You want to go on to the grant?
Yep, so currently working with the Econ Partners for the Borough. New grant just came out through the, it's actually through the Municipal Fire Department Capital Grant. It's through the Office of the State Fire Commissioner. It's a new grant for municipal departments, based off of kind of like building stuff, building renovations to fire stations and stuff like that. So we're currently working with them to apply for $60,000 up to $100,000 for fitness equipment and actually renovating that room down there. That would be a no match grant. It would be, you know, this is what you get. You don't have to put, you know, 50, 20, 10% to it or whatever. So the deadline for that is the 30th. We submitted all the current information that we had, and we're currently working on getting updated quotes. So obviously the quotes that we had were from 2020, so I'm sure that substantially jumped. I mean, we could estimate a number in there, but we're gonna try and attach quotes to it after the fact as an addendum with the updated quotes.
Corey did tell me she's gonna submit for the full 100,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we'll easily be there. I mean, in the past with the fitness equipment alone, we were around $30,000, and then I think with the renovations, it was another $35,000, $45,000. So with the cost of everything today, we're gonna be up there.
And what's the timeline of finding out whether it's granted?
That's a good question. It's due the 30th, and this is a brand new grant, so I think we're gonna have a little bit of hiccups with this, but I'm hoping that realistically, I don't know if she's told you, but I wouldn't think till towards the end of the year.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we submit the grant request.
Can you also approve this, letter of support coming from Borough Council needs to be submitted by this Friday?
Let's do this one first, and then do this one. Okay. Besides that, and the letter,
Yeah, the motion's there for you on the agenda.
It's not clear to us whether you've already submitted it or whether you're going to submit it.
We've submitted it the last the grant, we're gonna be submitting it. It's
So you have
due the
not-
30th, yes. It's due June 30th is the deadline for submitting.
This Friday.
Correct.
I'd like to ask a question about the fitness. What's going on with your guys? Do they have a big fitness place that they're building over there that they work out in? Or do they?
In our building?
One
I
of
thought you were gonna let the cat out.
I don't have room for
It's in the
that.
women's locker room.
Yeah.
Is there fitness provisions?
yeah, there's something in the
Yeah, we
contract,
pay for their
memberships.
Or why do we do that for the fire
The
department?
difference, Ron, is the fire department is required when they are on shift, they must spend an hour a day working out. So the only reason we are eligible for this grant is because normally fitness equipment would not be eligible, but because it's part of their required training.
So the fire guys have to work out for an hour every day they're in the fire
Station.
department?
Right.
That's an NFPA
Because we
standard.
have to get physicals, we're doing physicals every yearly, NFPA 1582 physicals, which basically states that they're fit for duty. It's a very extensive physical that they're getting to maintain the job requirements. And one of the things when we attempted to get this in the budget a couple years, we were talking about making it borough-wide. Basically, it would be fob access or whatever, so the police department could potentially go down there and work out. The public works crew could potentially go down there and work out. Because it's gonna be in the basement, it's gonna be isolated on the other side. So it would be a secured, you know, heated, air-conditioned room.
How much does the fitness cost for the police department?
I don't know what the cost is. The way we have it structured in the contract is there's an incentive. They have to go a minimum number of times per unit of time in order to be eligible for that. So I don't remember.
Where is it? Which one is it?
It's not any one in particular. We have a cap on the dollar amount that we will spend wherever they choose to go and do their fitness. But
I'm all in favor of fitness for these guys, no more for the police than for the fire department, but it just seems kind of like a throwaway to say you have to exercise for an hour for the fire department. That for a guy who's trying to stay in shape, exercise, type of equipment's important, where they exercise, how much they exercise. An hour is kind of like not much time. At the same time, if they had the same thing the fire department had, they might use it. But whether or not we need it or don't need it, or want to put a gym into the fire department is sort of, I don't really care whether we do or we don't. It seems to me that an hour shouldn't be the reason why we're building a fitness operation that doesn't even come close to what's available to these guys if they go. And they shouldn't be getting anything worse or less significant than the police department has.
Well, I think the requirement is what dictates it. You know, yeah,
Well,
it'd be great that these guys, the firemen go out and go to their own place like the police officers can. That would be wonderful, but NFPA dictates different.
Well, I agree with you.
And they do,
but I
a
doubt
lot of
if
them
there's,
have memberships
Yeah, a
as
lot
well
of them,
too.
yeah.
And that's just a minimum of 1 hour a day while they're on shift. That's part of their job description, that's part of their job duties of other things. But realistically, some of them probably work out 2 hours, 2.5 hours, based off of depending on the call volume or what other things we have to do that day.
well, if it's all about putting a fitness center in there, then put a fitness center in. But if the guys would like to have more access to fitness, like the police department, then I think we should talk about letting them have that. Because I can't imagine you go over there and sit there and watch somebody exercise.
But it's on shift.
It's a
During your
I know,
contractual,
but it doesn't
It's
matter if they're on
contract-
shift.
we just-
Somebody
we just
sits there
signed
and
a
watch
five-year
them
contract.
exercise.
it's in the contract,
Just
Ron.
signed a 5-year contract.
And we already have stuff down there now.
There,
There's currently stuff down there now, fitness equipment. The issue is it's not a climate controlled area, so it's got heat. But in the summer, it's humid, it's just in a garage space or whatever. So
like Fred
we've
said,
had the equipment down there for, many years since we even came into the picture. We're just trying to update the equipment and make it more suitable and more comfortable.
like Fred said, we signed the front of the contract, can't do any better. Move on.
Okay.
You made a motion to
Yeah,
recommend.
so we need, well, actually, I'll make the motion that we authorize the submission of the grant application and execution of the attached letter of support.
Second.
Motion and second, further question? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Just informational, our firefighter civil service process, we're in the next stage, the oral interview. That's currently scheduled for Tuesday, August 8th, and that'll be at the station. We have 6 candidates that are gonna be moving on to the oral interview. And then one other thing I wanna bring to the attention, one of our captains, Captain Holmes, is currently working on his executive fire officer designation through the National Fire Academy. He's just most recently completed an online mediation course with a 97%. He has 1 class remaining, which he's waiting to get dates for to complete that based off of when it's available. That's going to be the final residence course, as well as completing a capstone research project. The research project is going to deal with mental injury, informing upstream strategies to foster firefighter mental well-being. Internally, we're kind of providing him the time to do that, complete stuff on the clock, and also assisting with personnel to be interviewed for his research project, as well as reaching out countywide to other fire departments to complete that. So I think he had potential dates of September. They're going to come out with the announcement for when the final class will start. That's all I have for fire rescue. If anybody has any other questions for me.
I'll just say that's quite an accomplishment for him. It's something that you just don't go to some classes and they give you certificates until you gotta stack them like this, and then you're great. There's a lot that he's put himself through and interacted with other chiefs of major departments throughout the country.
Correct.
So it's a pretty aggressive course he's going through, and I applaud him for that.
Currently, there's only 4,659 nationwide executive fire officers.
Okay, anything else for comment? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Moving on to Western.
Alright, so for May, we had 279 incidents. Of those, we transported 207. 22 were refusals, 3 standbys, 40 cancellations, and 7 assists. The breakdown of call types: ALS was 115, BLS 125, ALS downgraded was 24, 29 incidents at the Highland, and 21 incidents at Country Meadows. Average dispatch to responding time was 58 seconds. Average on-scene time was 14 minutes 29 seconds. Busiest hour of the day is 11 a.m., 29 incidents. Transported 161 to Reading Hospital and 25 to St. Joe's, administered Narcan 1 time.
Question, and this goes to fire in EMS. I still don't understand, why is fire being dispatched to Country Meadows for, an ALS call or a BLS call, and they have nurses?
The only reason we'd be dispatched to any nursing facility would be for cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest, shooting, stabbing, or unconscious. And that's basically for the additional set of hands because.
Well, I understand, yeah, you need more hands with the
But, yeah,
cardiac
no.
arrest, but even so.
We
all
should
those
not be
nurses, they-
dispatched, that was changed with the run cards, the county tweaked some things with the run cards. There was an unwritten agreement that QRS can go to a medical facility, and then they didn't like that, and they wanted to change it, so we had to change all our run cards to dictate that. So even if it's, 4th, 5th, 6th due ALS, BLS truck coming in from someplace else, the only reason we would go to a medical facility would be for those cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest, unconscious, shooting, stabbing.
Always seem
Now,
weird.
when you go to, one of the caveats would be the Highlands, and they still have staff, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but like the independent living houses at the Highlands, so the Highlands main core complex itself, we won't run unless it's a cardiac arrest, respiratory. But if it's some of the single-family dwellings that are on the Highlands property,
No, I
we will
understand
run
those, yeah.
But a lot of times, there's medical staff that's also comes from the main facility out to those properties that we
Okay.
get there.
Kind of curious. Anybody have any questions for Western Berks? Thank you for your report and for your services. Police Department.
Good
Chief.
afternoon, everyone. A couple of things. I have 2 things that I'd like to add, so do we want to wait till the end to do that, or?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah, okay. And then, I have quite a lengthy list here, and I apologize for that, so I'll try to get through everything as quickly as possible. But with A, if you mind if we go out of order, I think A might get a lot of discussion, so maybe we save that to the end. Everybody's okay with that, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So with B, with the Fitzy's Run, we have gotten a request for their annual run scheduled for October 29th, 2023. I have received all the documentation for that, so I am asking that that be moved forward to council for approval.
So moved.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I wanted to review the status of the hiring and promotional process for the hiring. The ad has been placed in the paper. It's been placed on the Police Chiefs Association website. We've gone to local academies, put things out there. So just waiting to see what we get. So far, we have 1 application that's been reported. So we will see how this all goes. I have the exam scheduled for August 5th and the PT test then scheduled for August 7th. As far as for the promotional process, I had 6 individuals put in for the sergeant and 1 for lieutenant thus far. That is due to be in by the 30th, so this Friday. So I'm not really expecting any more for sergeant, honestly. I'm anticipating 1 additional for lieutenant, but I'm not 100% sure.
And all 6 of the ones applying for sergeant meet the criteria of number of years of service and so on.
Yes. So with that, I have scheduled the
sergeant's promotional test for October 2nd. I'm trying to give them,
Which one are we under here? Which letter?
C,
We're still at C, okay?
yep. The promotional test to be October 2nd. That way, for the sergeant examination especially, they have, I think it's 6 books to review, plus crimes code, vehicle code, it tells you what chapters and everything. So they have a lot to review, so I'm trying to give time for them to be able to do that.
Is this potentially for 2 spots or just 1?
2,
2, yeah, because more than likely your lieutenant's gonna come from
well,
that range.
they have to,
Right.
so.
So you're really 2 out of 6 is what you're looking for.
With D, reviewing and discuss a memorandum of understanding between the school district. Every 2 years, we get an MOU to sign off with the school, and it looks like it's something that we've been doing for years. This year, the school district came to us with a bit of a change to it, and I gave it to the solicitor to review, and I don't know if you remember what you said, Chris, but you basically said it gives there's more language here than the past agreements in how the school's gonna contact us and for what, when there's imminent threats and things like that.
Yeah, what the prior agreement said is that whenever there was an incident and there was no distinction made between things that were imminent risk and non-imminent risk, whenever there was an incident under the old agreement, there was a process where the school district had to assemble information, prepare a report, and transmit that report to the police. So I think it was a wise revision of this agreement to provide an accelerated process where there is a risk of an imminent harm, so that now, under the proposed agreement, there has to be an immediate contact with the police department if there's a risk of imminent harm. There's still, for other situations, a report process and assembly of information, that kind of thing. So anyway, I think it's an improvement in the agreement, anticipating the possibility of an incident of imminent harm and accelerating the communication with the police department. So that's the only change that has been identified with the revised version of this agreement. And I agree that this is something that's done periodically. I think it's the Department of Education that requires this. And this is at least the 3rd one that I've seen, here in Wyomissing.
We have them going back several years.
Is there a reason why West Redding's not a signatory?
They are,
Janice's
Well,
question
the
was
signature line, they weren't.
whether the borough
No, they were not.
was signing.
oh,
The borough was not.
And then the reverse question, is why all the organizations signing it as opposed to just the borough binds them all anyway? Is it?
I don't know the answer to that, other
The
than the school
draft of
district's main
these
office is here in
agreements-
Wyomissing.
The draft of these agreements has always been between the chief and the school district. Not on this agreement, but on the prior version, or maybe the one before that, I advised the borough that I thought that the chief doesn't have the right to sign contracts and that the borough has to approve it. So in our case, there's a signature line added for the borough, and I want this committee to recommend it and council to approve it. I don't know if there's a different opinion in West Reading, but I don't care about West Reading, just care about this borough. So I think our process is appropriate, and I think we should continue to do it that way. Okay, so that's why there's a signature line for the borough, in addition to the chief.
Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the memo of understanding with the school districts and the police departments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next, the parking relief that was granted to RM Palmer is set to expire on July 11th. I have spoken with the management of RM Palmer, and they are requesting that we extend it, one more time. They are in the stages of alternate locations for some things that, once that stuff is up and running, that they feel as though their facility will have enough parking that's there for the employees that will be there. But currently, the other employees, their other facility is not yet set up, but it will be by the time another relief that will be granted would be set to expire. So they are requesting if we could.
An extension to that.
What's
We
the-
do that with.
What's the
years.
timeline?
It would just be, I think by September they should be, they couldn't give me an exact date, but this proclamation was signed by the mayor,
Right.
the last time, so.
Well, we may need a resolution by the council. I think at this point, it's council action to extend this, so I would recommend that the wording of the motion be to recommend the council the extension. Do you know when the expiration is, Chief?
July 11th.
That before council?
Yeah. No,
You
and
should
council
be
is
on
July
that
11th.
That's it. I think it'd be good to recommend the council to extend this and prepare an appropriate resolution.
So,
60 days, 30 days.
We have a motion and a second.
What is the parking relief that's being extended?
There is no parking in and around that area of where Palmer is located here in the borough. But most of those employees that work at the West Reading plant, they have them up here. So their employees don't have a place where they park on the lot that they have.
I forgot about the
Street
place.
parking and parking zone.
And there hasn't been any issues with them parking up
I forgot about the water facilities.
there. Okay, any further questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
I wanted to give you an update on the lease vehicle purchases. Every month I contact the dealer to find out the status of the two vehicles that I have. They are still not even on the list to be produced yet by Ford. So I do not know if we're gonna see them this year. September will be the year that they were ordered. So I am fearful that we're not gonna see them until 2024, the way this is going. I believe Ford is going to be doing like they did this past year with allowing vehicles to be pre-ordered again. So I will be more than likely coming, once I know that, to fire and police and council to be able to pre-order the vehicles again. But I have a feeling our 2023 vehicles aren't gonna come until 2024. Anything that we order for 24 is probably not gonna come until 25 if things stay the way they are.
You gonna be asking us with a straight face?
Well, I can't help the production of these companies, you know, I don't know what the holdup still is. I thought the chip thing was taken care of, but maybe
I think
not.
it's
don't know.
with everything. You heard Colin with fire apparatus. I mean, it's everything.
So when it comes to budget time, you know, there is a possibility if we pre-order the 24s come in, and then sometime by the end of 24, and the 23s come in early 24, so I don't know how.
So are these pre-ordered vehicles, ordered with some degree of firmness that you're gonna get it at some point, or it's just?
I'll get them, they can't guarantee when.
So the 23 could show up in 25, and the 24 could show up in 24.
I'm sorry,
I don't know, it sounds crazy, but is the 24 gonna show up before the 23?
I certainly doubt that. It's taken almost a year for the 23s to get, they're not even on the list to be made yet, so.
Right, so when you give them cash up front
Well, we haven't paid them anything.
for the 23,
Yeah, we haven't paid
all
them
right, so
anything.
we didn't do this pre-order.
that we just budgeted.
No, when I pre-ordered them, but we did not, so that put it into the list to be made for us to purchase.
Right.
But we have not put anything down on them.
Right, but if you
I have
put,
paid for equipment to be put in them, but that's it.
got it, but if you put $15,000 down on a vehicle for 24, full price, everything included, will they tell you you'll have it by December 31st, 24?
So you wonder what didn't hop the line just yet?
What's that?
Didn't hop the line?
No, I just mean, what's the point of paying in advance if you don't know when the hell you're getting it?
We're not
But
paying
we-
them.
but we
We're not
didn't
paying
pay
them.
No, but I'm saying if they're offering that, wouldn't it make sense?
You can just
that they-
order, you're not paying.
We're not, they're not offering it payment in advance.
Oh, they're not? I
No.
thought you just said they
No.
were.
You can order, but you cannot, you're not paying anything, that's what I said.
So it's just a budget item.
Okay.
It's a budget item. It's a budget.
What I'm saying is, when they finally come in, I have to pay. If they come in early '24, like I'm now anticipating, and I pre-order the 2024 cars in August, September, like I did this past year, but if they come in December of '24, then that's more cars than really budgeted for.
Well, we'll just carry over the budget that you had. If they don't come in 23, we'll carry over the budget expenses that you had for 23 into 24, and we'll budget new ones for 24, so if they come in, they're both budgeted for.
Actually, the real issue is the equipment that has to go in these cars, because they change design, and we gotta buy new equipment that goes in these cars.
The cars that are coming are for detectives, so I don't have cages or anything like that. That's the big thing. When the body styles change, then cages change. This is updated lights and things like that, so we should be okay with that. This coming Friday, our officer that's in the academy is graduating, so she will actually, her first day on the street, she'll be here for the parade, because I need somebody to help out. So she'll be here for the 4th, but her first real official day will be the 5th of July. She'll be starting on that day, starting her about 5 days of going over policies and getting to the range and just things like that, and then she'll start with the field training officer after that.
Do they have one FTO throughout?
No,
Change.
she has a primary that do the majority, but we like to have them see several different field training officers. Everybody does their own little thing. You pick up things from others, so she will transfer from officer to officer. We have her schedule put out already, so we know who she's gonna be with and what her training. So the next was the discussion about the northbound traffic at Wyomissing Boulevard. And I guess it was brought up at infrastructure about no parking signs perhaps on Wyomissing Boulevard between Lincoln and Cleveland. So I was asked, I went out and I took a look at all of that, and I know what the traffic's like, and I see that as well. And I'm not necessarily in favor of taking parking away from our residents for a busy time of the day that's an hour at most. You know, morning and evening is when it gets really busy. Especially with, we don't know what exactly is gonna happen there with PennDOT and Wyomissing Boulevard. And there might be, like I said, an infrastructure, we might be able to narrow that island at some point to make it a little wider for cars to get by there. But
I personally totally agree, and I don't think we should care. I really don't care. And I'll tell you why I don't care, is because I probably go that way 3 or 4 times a day for whatever reason between my house and head in that direction, and why I just have to go that direction a lot. It's a couple times a day. I was there twice today, and it's nothing. And to take away somebody's privilege of parking in front of their house, because the other thing is, the majority of the cars that when it is backed up, they're not Wyomissing residents anyway.
No, it's
They're
all
people that are
go-through.
cutting through from
Cutting
Museum
through,
Road
absolutely.
over. So why are we gonna take parking away from a resident because of people that don't live here are inconvenienced? You know what? Let's back it up even more, and maybe it'll inconvenience them more, and they won't go this way.
I'd
Well,
like
So I think we should leave it
Well,
out.
but the parking would only be limited to peak hours.
Yeah, I would do it.
But I agree with you, taking it away. I don't have
It's
to
not
have
a
it,
market.
I don't have it in front of my house.
Right.
I'm not parking in front of my house,
You
I'm not
should.
crying.
But you should.
You know, it's not right, but this is the worst intersection in the borough.
Only because of all the traffic that's coming from everywhere else.
It should be addressed because it's so inefficient.
Well,
But I think
I don't know, wait.
in infrastructure, we not only discuss the option of making no parking, which nobody's supported, but we also discuss perhaps painting lines, because part of the problem is people shift to the right.
is it a safety issue? I guess that's the question. If it's a if it's
No,
an
I don't think
inconvenience
so.
issue, who cares? It's not our
I
community.
don't think it's a safety issue, but
Then I don't think we should do anything.
the line being painted, as I understood it, you were looking at doing that, the line that's at Penn Avenue that comes back to Lincoln. So what we're actually talking about is from Lincoln, beyond that, at Lincoln to Cleveland.
The line doesn't come back.
Right,
though.
that's what
Not
I'm
to
saying.
Lincoln, it has to come at least to Lincoln.
Yeah.
What's that?
The line has to come back at least to Lincoln.
Right, but, and that's fine, but when there's cars parked on Wyomissing Boulevard between Lincoln and Cleveland, cars aren't gonna be able to still get around that anyways, to get into that line, you see what I mean? So that's,
Okay.
the line, we're not looking, is what I'm saying, is to putting a line from Lincoln to Cleveland's not gonna really do anything. You could extend that line back to Lincoln, sure, but that's still not gonna alleviate the issue of a borough resident parked in front of their house.
Most drivers don't know that there are two lanes there. And that's what the line's for, to remind idiot drivers that there's two lanes.
Right.
Just like, you know, the intersection of Berks and going into Berkeley. There's no, people just park in the middle and you can't take a right, you take a, if there were just simple lane lines there, at least the people would know that they should get over to the right if they're gonna take a right or go straight. Or the left and go straight, or stay in the right lane and go right.
And when the 10 cars double park in front of the church to pick up their kids, you can't get around them anyway.
But not on a big time.
That's not-
They have a pretty good
No,
shoulder
that's
right
not a
there.
problem.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah, there's-
I don't think it's a problem. I don't think we do anything.
Yeah, you can move two cars to the park.
Yeah.
So,
It was, you know, it was brought to this committee by infrastructure, and what I'm hearing, I'm in full agreement that, we don't have a safety issue. It's more of a parking issue for residents and residents do have the right to park in front of their own homes. So, having said that, we can kick it back to infrastructure.
Well, I'd like to have my 2 cents here.
Well, of course.
My 2 cents is, that street has been around for a long time. We gave them the authority to build a parking lot with 800 cars, whatever's in there, and we have all kinds of other people there, which is fine. But when we did that, did somebody think there wouldn't be a lot of traffic there? There's already a lot of traffic there. And that's on top of what we've been saying forever, which is we need to slow traffic down on that street. So if you have to sit there to get to the intersection, tough luck.
I think you pretty much said you agree, Ron.
Yeah, I do, but
Okay.
I want to say, I want to say this every time I come to this meeting, because we don't slow traffic down, but we're sure as hell willing to let traffic slow down at the church. But what about past Lincoln? Go down to Garfield, go down to the circle when they come around there at 55 miles an hour. We should ask them if they want to have more kids come out of the school. That would slow all the traffic down and wouldn't have to worry about cars.
Your issue is the speeding.
Yeah, of
That's,
course.
that's your issue.
Yeah, it's two different issues.
Well, it's the same issue because we're slowing them down, and that's gonna
Well.
slow them down. Ultimately, the more cars you have there, the slower they're gonna go. No?
All right, maybe they won't.
Okay, I guess,
I'll make a motion to table the issue.
motion to table, second.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
We have, one deny.
Why we table
Not doing anything.
We can kick it from this
Why don't we
committee
kick
back
it
to
out to
infrastructure.
council?
We don't,
For what?
we don't, well, I'm just saying, they're the ones who gave it to us.
Because they didn't want to do it.
it? Well, let's
Exactly.
deal with it.
No,
Say
they
we
wanted,
don't
they wanted the
recommend
chief
we
to
do it.
look at it.
Right, and he gave his recommendation.
Yeah.
Look at
His
it.
recommendation is don't do it.
Yeah.
So now we did it.
Right.
Right, John, your recommendation is we don't do it.
Yeah.
So you want to deny it
Especially,
instead of table today?
what I think needs to happen is not gonna happen right now.
Right.
And that's making those islands a little narrower, and I will take care
Spend more money for non-residents so they don't have to wait at the traffic light.
Well, no.
That's how that issue gets
You wait
resolved.
till that street gets repaved,
Wait
and
until-
then narrow the
Wait
thing.
until Penn does
The
this,
other-
the circle.
The other one's narrowed up all the way up to Lincoln, right?
it.
Yeah.
It widens a little bit.
The wide.
It's narrower.
Yeah.
Still narrow at the
It's
end,
narrow.
but it's not as wide as a normal boulevard width at the end.
You wanna amend your,
So I'll amend the motion to deny it.
okay, we have a motion to deny, second. All those in favor of denying any action?
Based on the chief's recommendation, aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed. The ayes have it. So moved.
Okay, so then I'll go back to A before asking for the additional. Review and discuss recent suggestions to regulate block parties within the borough. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm the one who raised this one, so I appreciate doing that for me. Give this up. I don't know, people probably know that you can get, the chief will allow you to, this has been an application to the chief for permission to have a block party. And then the borough delivers sawhorses, which are put on the block, and then it's practically basically blocked off for a day. And very often they are for parties for residents of the block. But sometimes they are parties for a resident of the block who may or may not invite other residents, but have more people coming from outside than inside. I don't think we define block party to require the form in a traditional block party. My concern is more that although it is a wonderful thing for the people who attend the block party, it also has repercussions for people who live on the blocks on either side. For example, there was a birthday party, block party, in the 1300 block of Cleveland, which had a DJ until 10 o'clock at night. So people on, two people on Garfield came to me wanting to know what was up with the party. They also told me that particularly one of them who gets up early the next morning did not appreciate the loud music until 10 at night and did not appreciate hearing people pick up things until midnight. So part of me thinks that when the chief's approval goes out, it would be nice to remind people that we live in a neighborhood and that their noise, their inconvenience affects many residents and perhaps they should be considered in that. I'm not asking for an ordinance to be passed, I think we ought to start slow if we do anything. But I think a reminder to people of the effects on their neighbors would be appropriate.
I guess I don't understand what the process is now. What is the criteria for granting, not
The
granting?
block party is covered under the assemblage and section of the ordinance, and it's in the vehicle and traffic section. It's in the 100 section of the that ordinance. And it talks about processions and assemblages and things like that for people to go through the permitting so with these runs and everything like that falls under that. It specifically states that the block parties are exempt from that process. It also then has a section, I think it's like 20 or 21 or something like that, that talks about the block parties, and it has the rules and such that are there that they're supposed to follow. In the application that they fill out, it does state all of that, and they sign acknowledging the acceptance of the rules, knowledge of the rules. And then when I get it and I approve it, I send them an email advising them of that, and then I state to them, please remember, I forget the verbiage I usually use, but about the rules that you must adhere to, and noise, and the time from it. They will put in their application the time frame, but the ordinance states it's anywhere between 8 AM and 10 PM that they can do it until. And I remind them that this is your hours and things like that, so. They do kind of already do something like what you're asking, but that's the process. They can go online, that's how I get the overwhelming majority of them, they download it and email it to me, so that's how I get it.
And you would just handle, if somebody were to call and complain, you would just handle it as a normal noise complaint,
Yeah.
right?
That's how we.
Well, sometimes my neighbor interprets being allowed to join, to have a block party as permission to do whatever. That's not how it's meant by the chief, but that's how it can be interpreted. And I also think that people are reluctant to complain. That, you know, somebody, again, the woman who goes to, wakes up at 6 o'clock on a weekday morning, has this music till 10 o'clock on Sunday night, and then the cleanup noise until midnight.
Well, I would think whoever is making the application for the permit is ultimately the responsible person for the entire event. And that person is held accountable, and if need be some internal policing, then he or she must do that to her own guests.
When there is something in the ordinance about it's supposed to be for members of the block type of thing, there's no way I know that. There's only one person that comes on the permit, so I don't know how many people are actually on the block having this for. There tend to be the same ones every year that do it, so it's, for years, that, when we have these events, I look every Friday, because they're always on weekends. I look every Friday before I leave, and I see what events are scheduled for the weekend. I put the email out to everybody working, and this is things that are happening, so people are aware. When I approve one, I take an assignment number, so that it's noted that I approved it. But that can be weeks before the actual event, so that's why I put an email out to everybody letting them know that this is happening on this date. So, my suggestion, if council's not, if they want to look at updating that ordinance a little bit and changing it, that's your prerogative. If you want to lessen the time frame or what, but, as far as it goes down, if somebody has an issue, they just have to give us a call so we can try to talk to somebody and keep it down. That's how, you all see the bloggers, when we get those noise complaints, that's how we tend to handle them. It's just, get complaints, can you keep it down, and the overwhelming majority of people comply with that. Or at least we don't get additional calls from somebody else, so.
There's really no way to enforce that, is it?
No, we don't have noise ordinance.
We don't have a noise ordinance, so.
I don't think government should be in the regulating part of the block parties.
Well, I
Which is
agree.
why I suggested that, I thought that a letter
I think-
reminding them.
I think the way you're handling it, with educating the people beforehand, you're doing exactly what should be done. They've been educated, boom, it's up to them now to,
I think what Jen is asking for is just an additional reinforcement of reminders. And I don't think that requires an ordinance, that's just changing your verbiage to more emphatically warn them about being cognizant of their neighbors.
Well, if it's 10 o'clock, you can't get much more reasonable than that. It's not clear. They can read it and say they're gonna stop at 10, and if they're still there at 11, then they're 35.
Thank you for discussing.
There is a definition of block party in the code, and it's supposed to be a majority of attendees being
Right.
residents of the street. So the idea that there's a majority of non-residents of the borough, of that block, that seems to me to be problematic. But again, I'm not sure how you enforce that.
I don't know what I'm getting at. So this is what the application comes to me by the email website. And it has, it has the consent with the warning, so they're seeing everything. Now, this was another one that's, I got this back on May 4th, and the block party's not till September 30th. One that we get every year, they put in for it very early. But it has everything here that they, reminder of the rules, so they do see it. And like I said, when I approved it, in my email, I said it'd be cognizant, please be cognizant of the rules you sign for, however I usually say it.
Okay. Okay, you had two other items?
Yes, they're not on the agenda, so I don't know if we need to, make a motion to amend the agenda.
Do you need action on them?
Yeah, well, the one, yes.
Let's
I
just,
believe.
tell us what they are.
The first is, there are about two different runs. It's the Bradley Mayer Memorial Run and the Miles for Maria Run. The Miles for Maria Run, I told you there was a conflict in the past, and I want to explain what that conflict is and how it needs to be resolved. And it has to do with this Bradley Mayer as well.
I'll make a motion, we amend the agenda to include discussion on two potential runs in the borough.
Second.
A motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is amended.
The Bradley Mayer Run is,
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, excuse me, Mr. J.
Thank you. No, I don't have anything.
Thank you.
The Bra-
Okay,
The Bradley Mayer Run is scheduled for August 12th of this year. This body and council has already approved that run. The issue is, on their application, they put August 13th. August 13th was the Miles for Maria Run's application date. That became the issue because the two runs occurring at the same time. But what I've learned now is it's the Bradley Mayer Run that put the wrong date, and they are not scheduled to have it on the 13th of August, but the 12th of August. So I want to make this body and the council aware that that's the actual date for the approval. And then with Miles for Maria, that would leave August 13th available for them. I have all their paperwork, so now I would be asking for their run to be approved for the 13th.
Was Brett Mayer approved to be on the 13th?
It was approved to be on the
I think
13th.
the action that would be appropriate is to modify the approval of Brett Mayer run to make it the 12th, and consider approval of Miles from Maria on the 13th, and subject to you receiving all the necessary.
I have it all.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's the case of the runs.
This wasn't even, oh,
I didn't run both days, right?
That's a dad joke.
I didn't hear
He said it sounds like a case of the world.
that wasn't even voluminous.
that. No? Then I had one more item, as I said, but I
Now
don't
you're
know
pushing
if it needs to be a motion. I just want to pass on some information on something that happened this weekend.
Oh,
We had
If
a,
there's
so
no
idea,
discussion,
we don't need a motion?
we don't need to amend the agenda if there's no discussion, it's just gonna be a report, right?
Yes. I just want to make everyone aware that on Saturday night into Sunday morning, one of our officers, vehicle and officer, was hit by a DUI driver. They were dealing with a disabled vehicle up on the bypass, and as they were going into the back seat of the car to get their vest out, a drunk came along and hit the car. Officer did sustain some injuries, so I have a car that's now out, and I gotta get over there today to try to get some video out of it. But body camera was on, and you don't necessarily see the crash occur, but you definitely hear it happen and see the results of it thereafter. So it's just not one thing, it's another.
Is there a camera in the car?
I'm sorry?
There's a camera in the car, there's a camera in the car.
Yeah, I think, I'm gonna try to get the video out of that today, because those videos in the cars, we have a data port outside on the vehicle, on the building, and when the cars come in, it transfers all the video that way. But right now, it's
Since
sitting
the car didn't come
at a
in.
tow shop, I have to go and download that video. So, we should have the vehicle as it passed, but we were dispatched to the call. It ended up being in West Reading's actual jurisdiction. So West Reading actually did the full investigation, and the driver pulled over at the North Wyomissing Boulevard exit and was found by West Reading. So they were able to handle that investigation with DUI and crash.
So they have the person.
Yeah, we have the person, we have insurance and everything like that.
How
all that
serious
information.
injured?
She's not bad, I mean, but she got hurt.
fancy car.
I'll know better when I see it. It's a
Newer ones, or-
it's a newer car.
Yes, it is.
So it's, I don't know, we'll have to see what the adjuster, did you ever get in touch with Lewis for that?
Is the officer who was involved with the shooting back here?
So that's why I just wanted you to be aware in case you heard. That was,
When you first told me about that, all I was thinking about is that trooper on
yeah, no, I
the
mean,
expressway.
the officer was very lucky, as I said, they were in the back seat, the door was against their back, so it wasn't like it was wide open into the traffic lane. It was against them, and the car came along and took that door. So,
Anybody have anything else for the chief? Please extend our best wishes for a speedy recovery.
so,
Okay. West Side Emergency Management.
Right, my stuff's easy compared to that stuff, I'm sure. Couple of quick notes. The information for the hazard mitigation thing is in its final stages, and Wyomissing, along with these two others in the regional, are ready to go. All we need to know is that it's all done, and we can vote on it. And at that point, I'll make sure that Michelle or Melissa gets that information to make sure it's on the agenda.
Is there a deadline for action?
Not yet, not until they officially give us a date that it's, open to be voted on. But I'll make sure we get that, so, no question about that. We will be, sending out a code red message for the 4th of July parade, chief, and, that's all set to go. And that'll go out, that's another reminder, but there's some stuff on the website too, I think I saw some other information, so we got that all covered or at least as best we can, and most people along the parade route are well aware of what's going on.
and I did send you that, correct?
Yes,
I
yeah.
remember that,
Yeah,
okay.
you did. Also, in the near future, not this weekend, excuse me, next weekend with the 4th of July, but we'll be putting out all call. Code Red has given us a go-ahead with all the stuff, information that we submitted with names and addresses and phone numbers. Put out an all call so that, and I mentioned before about getting rid of fax machine numbers and all that kind of stuff. They'll review all that. And so we just have, hopefully just have cell phones and home phones that are still left to go out with a message for the areas that they're in. And the only other thing was ham radio operators, the Reading Radio Club this past weekend had their National Field Day. I'm not anybody who's a ham radio operator. Had that, and it's an emergency kind of preparation thing, but they talk to people from across the country and as well as locally, and it's used to test their communication contacting ability and things, so that's always a little interesting thing. They set it up in Sinking Spring up there at that old freight station, and they have quite an operation up there for the weekend, and they get points for all their contacts and anybody else who stops in that's a government official, so I usually stop by and give them their extra 100 points or whatever they get, so. So those are the highlights there from what I had, unless anyone has a question.
Any questions? Oh, all about. Did anybody get back to you about the 47?
No.
I talked to Tom Wenzel. I don't think we didn't send a note back to you. We were supposed to send a note back to you.
Oh, yeah, because I want to let Pete know, because he was the one that was.
Okay, well, I had told Tom and, that I would help him with the early morning run. But I said that I would be more than willing to watch the parade this year. I've been watching the sidelines for many years, and, I don't know then who else might brought it in the past, we've had council people on there and stuff.
I don't, I
That's what
think,
Pete was asking
Yeah.
about.
well, I think that's even, I thought Pete said that the,
Well, the backup is to have you riding Corvettes, but
Corvette.
if council wanted to do the Mac as they traditionally have, the question
he
was, is
wants to
someone
do it.
available to drive the Mac?
Well, then I'll send you the note or just tell you right now that that's
Okay,
probably what he ought to do is,
Okay,
so the morning run for sure,
yeah.
but not necessarily the
And
break.
Tom Wenzel will do the morning one.
Okay, but, and the break?
No, not the
Okay,
parade.
so just the morning
Yeah,
run.
we'll just do that. Okay. And let Pete know.
I'm texting right now.
Okay.
okay. Is there any old business to be brought?
No, one other thing, just quick, we're gonna, come down after the 4th, you know, they're having this flag thing down there at the Stone House, which I think is, I've seen pictures there. We're gonna go down and try to take a few pictures and practice flying our drone down there, and try to grab a few pictures of the display as it's down there. I don't know, do you know how many so far have?
Last update we had at rec board last week, I wanna say we were close to the 90s. Is that right? Don't quote me on that.
Say 90?
Yeah, it's a field of honor, so it's full-size flags that residents or really anyone from the community, has either purchased or in some way sponsored, typically in memory or in honor of a first responder, a department, a veteran, something along those lines. The flags are all going to be placed from July 2nd through, I believe, the 8th.
Yeah,
Around the pond at the Stone House, and I mean, if you could just imagine the visual impact of that many full-size American flags all being displayed at the same time, I think it's gonna be something to see.
yeah, I noticed that the publicity of it seemed a little sketchy.
Yeah, I was just
sketchy,
gonna say,
but-
how was it publicized? Cause I didn't see anything that said, here, if you give me $100, you get a flag.
Mainly through the Rotary Club, cause that's who's doing it, but I'd have to, I mean, that was Pete in conjunction
Cause
with.
I never saw anything.
The only thing I saw was on Facebook on Rotary
Well, I
and
wouldn't,
something.
I wasn't gonna get that.
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you, if it was on my
What is
rack,
it?
I'd have to ask Pete.
I don't know what else it's on, to tell you the truth. I was a little disappointed. It's a little hard to track down, and I only knew it because of the, knowing about the, hearing it from you and about pictures and stuff.
I think we would've got a lot more if people would've known.
Yeah, I
would've
really,
done it.
I'm a little,
I had no
I mean,
clue.
I went in and of course, we put one in for my wife's dad and my dad.
I thought there was a mailer though now.
Yeah, hold on, I can maybe
There
get an
was a
answer
what, a mailer?
relatively
I thought there was
quickly.
a mailer, cause I remember looking at something specifically,
Maybe
because
some time ago?
I did one for
Yeah,
our
the
department
resident,
and
yeah.
retired officer, I did one personally. Or people or without our newspaper getting publicity around here is not easy.
It's difficult, I know. We just thought, and it turns out it's not, the Rotary is, I don't know, they've become like the sponsor, I guess, or whatever you wanna call it, I'm not sure if that's the right term. It's going through them, there's only one in Berks County that's doing this, so I mean, somebody from Foley could have a flag put in there for their, in memory of or whatever, or where do you pick, Robinsonian or Hamburg or whatever, it's not just limited to people in our immediate area here, or even just in Wyomissing, it's for anyone. I'm wondering how they're gonna get them in the ground, since the ground's a little softer, but I don't know how they're putting them in the ground, do you?
I mean, how it was presented at the rec board when the Rotary attended with actual stakes, like they're going to go on stage.
Just punch it in there somehow, I guess. And I guess you get to keep your,
Depends on your level of sponsorship.
you get
Like
the,
they use over and over.
oh, you get
You
the,
just get the placard.
oh, okay.
Okay.
These guys went north with the flag.
Pete hasn't said anything, but I will ask.
Because there's been some expectation of the flags to be still between the second.
I think it's a neat
I put it
idea.
out to our department.
Yeah,
let them
not
know.
do so much, yeah.
I'm not gonna be there until the first,
All right, is there any other,
No, I'm done.
anything else for old business?
Yeah, I don't know if it's appropriate, parking at Happy Hollow. yesterday, there were 7 cars that were parked by the pavilion. I don't even know if they were scheduled, if even they scheduled the pavilion or not, but there were 7 cars, you know, on the property. I just get nervous because the kids are running around there like, man, and these people are driving down through there. I just don't want somebody to get hurt, you know, and I just get nervous as hell. And, you know, if they come down and unload and turn around and go back up again, I don't have an issue with that. But there were 7 of them parked there for 2 or 3 hours yesterday. That makes me nervous, and it's a bad press for them. You know,
That never
Yeah.
used to be.
Yeah, we never. had-
no, it, you know.
Actually, isn't there a sign,
But
no
I-
vehicles?
Yeah.
Or, well, we
Authorized
also,
vehicle only.
yeah, but there's a sign up there already.
No, that's what they're saying.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
yeah.
already a sign.
Yeah, well, didn't we at some point talk about putting a chain across the top? Not that I'm suggesting that, but.
We've talked about it, it does make it a slight inconvenience for staff when
Right,
they
you
go
have to
there.
get out and unlock, I understand, but I just get very nervous because the kids are on the playground, they're not looking for cars coming down the thing. I just
Yeah,
get
just
awfully
the
nervous
standard.
about that.
It was always, you have access to the playground from down to low.
Yeah,
And
but
there was a metal,
Yeah, but that's shut off now.
and there was also
You can't get in from down below.
No, they have a wooden, you can't,
So you have to come in over the
You
top.
can go around.
Yes.
it's coming from.
yeah, not with a regular car, not with a
It's coming
regular
from the
car.
top.
There's a
You're
handicap
right.
ramp that you can put your wheels on and
Yeah.
help get up and over the curb.
So anyway, just to comment, I don't know what we should do about it, but
So was it during the playground? No, sorry, that was Sunday.
No, it was
Yeah,
Sunday,
never mind.
on
Yeah.
Sunday, but, you know, the people go down there every day, you know, and the kids would not toddle up and so forth, they're running around, well, hey, it's a playground, you know?
I would, if you could just call us when you see it, so that we.
Well, you know, and then the cars, I'd be calling there down there every day, and I just, you know, bothers me too, I don't know, if we call you every day,
Sure,
it's
that's
a car
Air
park.
Air Force, so.
I don't know, it just,
Did they have a picnic or they?
yeah, they opened the
It was
pavilion.
a picnic.
I don't even know if they scheduled a pavilion, I don't,
Well, I mean, you can use the pavilion even if you hadn't scheduled it.
Yeah, but if you're bringing down 6,000 rolls and 20 hot dogs and
well,
barbecue.
that happened in the park, I don't care what they bring down.
Yeah, but
Park
they
in the
have to
park.
use a car to get down there, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah, but they just parked there, just stayed there for about 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, it's just a comment, I don't know.
Nicole, if we gotta take further to put up a chain, then we're gonna have to put a chain up.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, but you know, if it just keeps getting worse and worse, we'll just have to bring it up again.
There was, yeah.
Makes me nervous.
Yeah, there used to be.
I mean, they're all locked the same, so, you know, with one key, so.
Just makes me. Alive.
Okay, any other old business? Any new business? Hearing no new business. And Michelle, we have an executive session.
Should be a brief one, but yes.
Okay.
Any action is coming up?
We'll, move into executive session to, discuss real estate.
Yeah.